Good evening and welcome to another episode of QTV. My name is Kate Mackey.
I'm Michael James.
And I'm Spencer.
So joining us, yes, on the couch tonight we have a semi-regular face. You joined us quite a few months back now on the couch as a guest host, and you're here again tonight, Spencer, from QNews and Savvy Radio.
GaySavy.
GaySavy,
And
sorry.
I'm also associate producer for just some casual show here, really.
Just,
no big deal,
the
whatever.
best gay television show in the country.
I know, right?
Since
the world
just so used to
even.
you being here, I just forget about all the other amazing things that you do. But
Fingers and pies.
we're going to catch up on what we've all been doing this week, and
Yes.
we've just had a little chat and discovered we were at the same event yesterday.
We were.
You two are too fit.
It was a
you
very
do too
eventful
much
weekend.
running all the time.
Well, look, mine was a walk. It was the colour run yesterday up at the Sunshine Coast. So in
I've
amongst...
still got a bit of colour on me, a bit of green. The
I think
green
I've got
stain.
blue stuck under my arm.
I find this amazing. Like, I go to one and I have mud thrown at me, I get electrocuted, and I have to run over fire, and I almost die. And you go and they throw colours at you.
I know, it was like the biggest powder puff gay rainbow of beautifulness.
Sounds like the
I
gayest
loved it.
run
It
I've ever
was.
heard of.
And at the end there was a big dance party sort of thing, and then every 15 minutes they'd do a colour throw, and standing back it was amazing. They would count it down, and there's yellow, purple, green, red, and they'd just count it. And
It's
then it just
amazing
went
how
everywhere.
colour just makes people happy. It really does. Everyone just worked together. Usually at a festival, people are pushing through and having a bad time because people are
just
pushing in.
happy?
Everyone was happy.
Because they're having coloured dye thrown in
They
their faces.
were.
I went with people who wouldn't step foot in a festival and they were dancing.
Amazing.
I know.
Well, I
And
went,
exercising.
I went to Sydney for 2 days for work. That was fascinating. I met the new love of my life. She's from Slovakia. And she was there to do my training, and she had me do lots of games. We did games with toilet paper and games with going shopping. She's hilarious, but that was my week anyway.
Well, I love that accent, and actually it is time for the news of the week, so perhaps you could hit us off with a little bit of that. It is time, of course, for our top 3 news stories.
Excellent. Now, I should do this one in my accents. It would be lots of fun.
Actually, yes.
Yes. Was number 3 article for the week. No, I'll drop the accent.
No, it's terrible. Don't do that.
It is the US Olympic Committee has added gay protections to its policy in protest against anti-gay Russian laws. Now,
Another Russian story.
I know,
Yay.
Russia, I know. It came under fire because the IOC had come and said, look, we're not going to do anything and you guys can go there. And people were like, well, you're kind of supporting them when you do that. But now they've come and they said, look, we're not protesting against it, but we are adding anti-discrimination clauses into the protection for our athletes when they go there. So it's kind of a little bit of
rumours
column
that
A,
the
a bit
athletes are
column B.
dropping like nobody's business in
Yeah.
the lead up to the games.
Apparently lots of them are dropping out.
Yeah, so I think this specifically, maybe it was the US Olympic Committee
Yeah, the
CEO.
US yeah, the
so
US
he said they need to ask the question of themselves, how do they protect their athletes? And they're actually using this as an opportunity to step back and look at their own organisation, their own company, and say, look, how are we representing, or how are we caring for these people that we're sending to represent across there? So I think it's great that they're kind of...
It's probably a smarter one, because it's not like, let's boycott Russia again for the 800th time.
It just goes back to what Matthew Bowe said last episode. We put too much time and money into this Olympics to really do anything about it now.
So it's a smart thing. Cool.
Number 2. Australian students, and now I heard about this on GaySavy from another host that happened to be presented the other day, but Australian students have been writing to Alex Greenwich in regards to discrimination that they faced when in high school from fellow students, teachers, principals, staff and what have you. And it's basically been brought up to Alex Greenwich to see if they can do anything rewriting the Anti-Discrimination Act for schools. So people that go to private schools or Catholic schools will not be facing expulsion due to their sexuality.
Because they can at the moment, and that's what's disgusting
And this
about
was really sad. One of the first letters that was presented, it was maybe a month out from the HSC, and this student was hauled into
6 weeks from HSC. So the first, I'll just one snippet that I highlighted, because it was just like, I would imagine living in Russia with the laws that he was, the rules that he was given.
Must
he was
not be gay.
Just reading from this letter, he said he could continue school on these conditions. 1, I could not mention or talk about my sexuality at school to anyone. 2, my partner Rick was to have nothing to do with the school or functions. And 3, I had to see a counsellor weekly until I left school.
It's crazy. It's like the first rule of Christ Club is you
Yeah,
don't talk about gays.
Yeah,
And
it's
second
pretty
rule.
full on. Like the formal, like he booked.
Yeah.
He couldn't put his he couldn't book the ticket because it was in his
so he
partner
sent
Rick's
his
name.
boyfriend to go with a
girlfriend, yeah.
So they'd both be there.
Now, another letter was from a lesbian student who, and this is what broke my heart, she actually confided into one of her teachers at school about her sexuality, and because I trusted one of my teachers, I sat her down and told her about my feelings. But rather than help me, she told the principal, ... a lie about how she'd seen me engaged in a sexual act with a girl on the bus.
What a mongrel.
So
honestly,
I think if this, does impact at all with the, rewriting the act, one step forward, I guess.
Absolutely.
Maybe so.
Fix that shit. That's not right.
And speaking of acts being rewritten, it is time for our top news article of the week, which does come out of the ACT. So obviously they've recently had some changes to their marriage legislation, but it has been announced this week that the federal government is going to appeal these changes in the High Court. So this week there's been a couple of different stories. On the one hand, couples are being urged to act immediately. Couples that are planning on going through and having a marriage, they're saying, quick, get it done, get in there, because the more that we have that maybe have actually gone through with their marriage, the more difficult it will be to then turn it around. But on the other side of the story, there has been some perhaps encouragement to hold off until it's known exactly what's going to be happening, to save for causing any unnecessary distress to couples and families that have perhaps gone through with the marriage and then having to retreat from that. So I don't know what you guys kind of have to say or think about this.
I think I'm so over it. It's not funny.
I'm thinking deja vu. Didn't this happen in Queensland, just the other day?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I got my little civil union, and then they watered that down to a registered relationship.
So
that was lots of fun.
So I didn't bother.
We were the
Because
first boys
heard,
in Queensland.
Abbott's lawyers were getting involved to see if they can find anything to go
Abbott's
against.
lawyers need to find better things to do
They
with
made
their
a
time.
phone call to the ACT government last Wednesday night to say, just to give them the heads up, guys, we're going to come and appeal this for you. So they're looking for any loopholes and all this kind of ridiculous behaviour.
Right.
Yeah.
What does Abbott's sister have to say, I wonder?
Exactly.
I wonder, indeed,
Exactly.
how she'll feel about that.
I don't know. Well, that was our Hot 3 News articles for the week. We are going to be back very shortly with a little bit of more of an update from the beautiful Brisbane Pride Day. But don't forget, you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at QTV Brisbane. So we'd love to see your photos and to hear what you've been up to. And we will see you after this short break.
Welcome back to QTV. Back at Pride Festival, we were fortunate enough to talk to Amali Ward, so we'll be crossing back to that footage right now where Michael, Kate and Matt were fortunate enough to speak with Amali. Stick around.
Right, welcome to our QTV live interview. We are here with Amali Ward, sassy singer-songwriter. She's about to go on stage soon. She's here promoting her new album, Back in Time, and hopefully we're going to hear one of her amazing songs, Knock You Out, which is an anthem to against homophobia and racism. Amali, she's looking fabulous. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Now, you have been here all day. What's been your highlights so far?
Just the weather and just the general vibe. It's just been a really nice, positive day.
Beautiful. Kate, you look like you're dying to ask Amali some questions. Speak away.
Well, no. Well, I was just really interested. Obviously, you've had a couple of prestigious awards for your songwriting this year already. The Lennon Award was one of them. And I was also reading up a bit about your songwriting experience when you were travelling overseas. I was just wondering how that all came about, working with some of those amazing songwriters that have worked for Alicia Keys, CeeLo Green and other big name artists like that.
Well, I actually was signed to a management deal in the States, so they flew me over to write with those artists and songwriters and producers and stuff. And then I guess it was just really bad timing. I'm not really sure what happened really. It just kind of all fell apart because it was kind of the financial crisis and I don't know, these things seem to happen to people when they go to the States, like something amazing happens and then it's gone and then something else happens. But yeah, it was a really good opportunity. Like they introduced me to so many people, I got to write with so many people and I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, and as an artist, that helps you grow, even if that didn't quite finalise there. You've come back, you've worked on the album, and yeah, as I mentioned, those couple of awards already that are going to hopefully kickstart your tour, which did you want to quickly tell our viewers a little bit? I think you've just done a tour,
Just done one, yeah.
Tassie and Melbourne and Sydney, I think I saw.
Yeah, just an East Coast tour. Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, and yeah, like you said, it's those types of experiences end up turning into something else. Like I went over to the States and I had this expectation that I was going to be recording an album there. That didn't work out, and then I ended up coming back here, and that kind of inspired me coming here and writing it all with my fiance Bo. So it kind of just worked out for itself. It was good.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, I don't know if you had anything you were dying to ask, Matt.
I know that you've come from many of the places where you don't always have the most creative control with things like Idol. Tell me about your influences and where you would like to go if you had complete creative control over your music and your songwriting.
Pass that over.
Yeah, well, I guess initially when I first started out in the music industry, I didn't really have any creative control, and I don't think I would have known what to have done with it if I did, because I was so young. Yeah, 16 actually, even younger. So, now obviously I'm a bit more in control now that I'm an independent artist. So I've had both sides of the coin, I guess, and I really like having the control over things, and yeah, exactly. So yeah, things have changed a fair bit, I guess, since then.
Beautiful. Well, I'm curious, of course. We are here for Pride Fair Day. Why is it important that you're here for Pride? I mean, you could go anywhere and perform, but you're here and it's amazing. What's it mean to you? What's important about Pride?
I think everybody should just be proud of who they are, and they shouldn't have to hide who they are, and everybody should just be treated equally. I think that's just common sense, really, and it's kind of a shame that we still even have to say that, even have to have that conversation. I think it's pretty obvious. But it's just great to be part of such a positive event.
Beautiful. Now, I'm hoping you're going to get up there and you're going to sing Knock You Out for me today. My favourite song off your album. Tell me about it. What inspired it? Why Knock You Out?
Well, it was actually inspired by an old housemate, old school friend. She just came out and said, like, it was a joke, but it was just really offensive and it was kind of racist, and I was offended by it. And then just people seem to just say things like that all the time, and they don't even realise what they're saying sometimes. There's like that kind of attitude of real casual, offensive statements sometimes in Australia, especially with racism and homophobia too. And I was just kind of inspired by lots of things that I've overheard when people didn't really even know that that was wrong to say. And it just kind of annoyed me, and I just wrote the song really quickly because I was just raging at the time. So it's always pretty fun to sing, pretty intense.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, we're looking forward to you to be on this very stage in just a few minutes. So all the best of luck to your performance. Thank you very much for joining the QTV team, and we'll see you next time you're here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Welcome back to QTV. Now, it's time to catch up on our trending topic of the week. We look for some interesting things to chat about, and what's really been grabbing our attention at the moment is the new and old TV shows that have been representing modern or non-traditional families. And we were having a bit of a chat about it earlier, and looking at how I suppose that's evolved and what we've got on display at the moment. So there's a few shows that I wanted to sort of flag your attention at.
Let's
We've got
discuss.
Love talking TV.
The New Normal, which has been cancelled after its first season. We got a little bit of Glee as well, a little bit of Sean Saves the World as well, and Modern Family are kind of our key runners at the moment.
Okay, I only know two of the shows that you just mentioned.
Which ones don't you know?
Sean Saves the World, the first one that you mentioned that got cancelled.
Oh yeah, and New Normal. Okay.
Yeah. And there was another one. Go on.
You don't know all of them, right? Well, look, Sean Saves the World is an interesting one. It's part of the new pilot season in the US, and it's kind of taken away from the Modern Family kind of thing, and now it's got Sean Hayes, who used to play Just Jack from Will and Grace, who's now playing Just Jack, who's 45 years old.
And called Sean.
Yeah, and called Sean. And he has had his 15-year-old daughter from a previous failed relationship dumped on his doorstep. And now he has to look after her.
So is he single in this show? I haven't seen this yet, because then that'll combine like the single dad, which is not often shown in TV, but also you know, the single gay dad, I suppose. So it's really crossing a lot of new areas. I
Yeah,
guess.
it is. And it's interesting, it is him as a single dad, and, you know, he's a newly single dad with a teenage daughter. And he's really kind of brought that Jack character back in, which is kind of to his detriment, really. But it's interesting watching that dynamic where you're presenting to mainstream television, here we go, a family, and this is it. It's a single dad who happens to be gay as well.
And also that brings back up, I suppose, other issues as like, you know, well, he fathered a child in the past. So it's really like gives a lot of topic for discussion, I guess.
As discussed, it's basically just Jack.
Yeah, he's very just Jack. It's kind of like in the final episode of Will and Grace, they aged Jack up about 20 years with all the stage makeup.
Here he is.
It's kind of like he didn't take it off and he's back here. They've shoved some Botox in here and there and he's kind of holding it together. But
Even the accent and everything too that he...
Yeah, he even does the... you know, goes really high pitched when he's nervous about something, and the
All right. Okay.
hands.
And what's the other one? The
new normal.
The
new
new
normal. That ran a full season, and that really tackled the challenging of the non-traditional family. It was called The New Normal because it was looking at the issue of surrogacy. You know, different shows tackle different things. In this one, it was two really flamboyantly gay guys. One was a doctor, and one was a TV producer in LA. Decided they wanted to have a baby, and so they went to basically buy a surrogate, and it was kind of channeling the journey there. Interesting. It was written and directed by Ryan Murphy from Glee. Really brought in some of that really heavy dark humour with it. A little bit light and shade as well, but I didn't like it so much.
Yeah, I mean, Glee, they haven't been afraid to go there, obviously, as well. And watching, say, in Glee, it's a show that I quite enjoy. Took me a while before I actually finally watched it, and I'm like, why didn't I watch this before?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like that character of Kurt and his father coming to terms
Is that
with...
is that what's relatable with the family thing with this topic when it comes to Glee, or the whole you know implementing, I guess?
Glee and the New Normal are very different in that Glee really, I think, tackles it in a real way. You've got a different variety of variations of sexuality and family makeup and whatnot. The Modern Family, I think, not Modern Family, the New Normal plays into some really heavy stereotypes.
Yeah.
And all of those things that the churches say that the gays are doing, they want to go and buy babies, and it's all this uppity thing.
And they did that in a, like, kind of, you said, the dark humour kind of way, I suppose.
Yeah. But even it was celebrated that these guys seemed to make this flippant decision, like, oh, we're going to have a baby and we're going to pay $20,000 for a surrogate and we're rich and she's going to live in our house.
Yeah.
How do you think family should be represented in tele? Like because you guys, very family orientated. Are there stereotypes in families? Like, does one play the motherly, nurturing role? Does one play the masculine, go out and kick a ball with the child role, or?
I suppose it's not really about, there has to be a way that the family is reflected. I think they're all very, very different. And, you will have, I've seen several, same-sex families where you've got a really masculine person and a really not, or you've got, like my family where we're kind of heavily balanced. Like, I do everything from being a fairy father to playing football and teaching and a whole lot of different things and different representations, whereas...
Is that the stereotype, fairy father?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one before.
I do a few different things, and I don't think there's a particular, role in our household of the motherly father and the fatherly father.
Yeah.
But what was getting me, in this one was it was just that playing up of the, we're going to really go and buy a baby.
Yeah, it was more the comical kind of, like you said, let's get into every stereotype we can. Whereas if you compare that to something like Modern Family...
Yeah.
And sure, they have their camp moments but they have their more kind of just everyday family type moments as well. And they also did the adoption path. And there's humour, but I guess it's a little bit more played down, I suppose.
I think it's very real, their family.
I keep saying I just want a Mitch and Cam show because I just love them so much.
How common is, because I've never really seen a show where there's been a gay male couple having a baby with a lesbian couple. It's usually the adoption path and stuff like that. Would you say it happens a lot these days of that concept?
I suppose that's the most vacant representation is the female couple with the baby. You don't really see that very often. They're really played in as a joke in a lot of the shows.
Yeah, like in Modern Family, I remember when they were trying to get Lily into this particular school, they really wanted her, and they're like, yeah, we're the gay couple, they love diversity.
I've seen this episode.
Yeah. And then as they find out, we're interviewing one other couple, and as they see them walk out, they're like, lesbians, like, you know, like they couldn't compete because there was one African American in the lesbian couple, and I think one was also in a wheelchair. So
Yeah,
they were
like
they've got all the
double
stereotypes
minority.
down. Exactly. I mean, you know, for those that watched it, there was the couple in the L Word, obviously, that two females that had the baby. And it was one of their biological children, but yeah, like it is more, I suppose, the double dad that you see more on TV.
I think people are more familiar with lesbian couples having babies, and like you look around the circle of people that I know, and finding two dads is like needle in a haystack. You can't swing a handbag in West End without hitting a couple of lesbians who have got a baby that they've had through some way, shape or form. Like they're everywhere. So I think maybe that's why it's not
so much easier. Except
well, yeah,
you guys have the tools.
It is a little step easier, I suppose. Like you still got to figure out that path. No, well, that's right.
Exactly. But I mean, you guys have got a whole lot of laws and stuff that go with that make it very, very difficult as well, which is different to other situations too. So it's interesting. But
I mean, it is great that it's definitely. I mean, I think I heard some interview from the guy that plays Mitch on Modern Family, who is actually gay himself. Yeah, and he was saying, you know, we've slowly crept our way into the household and lounge rooms of America. So hopefully, seeing these kind of couples on TV is working towards making
immunising the world.
Yeah, and making it just more commonplace. And
absolutely, I think it's brilliant. So you can look forward to more and more of that. So yeah, pilot season's got lots of interesting shows. So make sure we check them all out. Anyway, that is all we have time for tonight. So thank you very, very much for joining us. As always, make sure you can follow us on all of the social medias. Jump on Facebook and let us know what you think of the show, what you'd like us to include, or you can shoot us an email to qtv@31.com.au. We'll see you for our next episode. Have a great night. I'm Michael James.
I'm Kate Mackey.
Spencer.
See you next week.